We're not doing too bad. Not doing too bad at all. This right here is the cross-country Ferd with a new body, obviously, on it. In the last video, we basically put a brand new body, or brand used body, I should say, onto this chassis, went ripping and tearing out in the backfield, and just had a good time. Basically, we adapted everything to work with this F350 chassis. We're going for a 1950's International on the F350 chassis with basically a 12.5-foot service bed. Should be pretty darn slick. So, I guess that begs the question, what are we going to do in this video? We're going to be putting that front end onto this truck, and we're going to be making this truck look like a 50s pickup on the F350 frame. No more just cab. We're going for all the sheet metal. Sit back and relax. Enjoy a cold beverage or a hot beverage. We're going to start putting this guy together. Welcome to Hi-O Stable Garage. Small, short interruption. Zip ties and bias plies. This whole project wouldn't be possible without that one-legged feller. So make sure you give his channel a watch. He has a complete, basically, 4 or 5 video series of getting this guy cross-countryable, one should say. Basically just beating it to death and trying to get it across the country. Either way, it made it here. Give that a gander. Watch all his videos before you watch this series. You can get a good idea of what this truck's been through and what it's going to see. Anyway, let's get into it. So the main motor mission is we're going to be putting this guy onto that guy. Sounds simple in theory, but a lot of things are different. Anyway, what I have to do first, we're just going to rip the battery and stuff off, all the busy work, and I'm just going to put this guy onto there for you guys so we can kind of see what we're dealing with in general. And then no matter how many times I picked up this front end, it's never lighter than it was before. And you know what? It's only gonna get heavier. Whew. Chunk. Rough. All right, that looks goofy. But like everything else, nothing fits. We gotta make it fit. We gotta work with it. So, this is what we got going on. Big gap. About as big as my hand when I move it all the way back here. But we're talking big. We're talking like 1.5 feet. Then, wheel well arch. Really forward. I got a couple solutions to that. I'm going to run it by you guys in a second. And as you can see, based off our current design, we're as far as we can go. Again, we're going to have a bumper on this guy. We don't plan on just running the fascia and like a back louver or something. We're going to have actual bumpers, so it doesn't really matter. We're still going to have the tilt, but we're going to go for actual bumpers. So as for the fenders and the wheel arch, we can always move that, or what we could actually do is cut it right here and basically move this guy back. Think of more like the 1940s KB line for international pickups. The heavy-duty side where the front and the grill is kind of like its own thing, and the fenders are recessed back a little. See kind of what I mean on how long the fender has to be? Fender basically has to end like here. And that's fine for what we got going, but right now the fender would end here. We're almost like 1 foot too short. So I just got to extend that end, fluff it out, sweep it into the running boards that will be there. Shouldn't be too bad. As for the height, I'm not concerned with the radiator. We might even just cut a hole for the rad cap. They used to do that for old trucks. Not this line, but this truck is not this type of truck anymore. Either way, I think the best way to go about this is to cut the fenders off completely and just deal with the hood in one go. That way we get our right arc, everything we need. Start adding the pieces back on piece by piece, and then just chase weld. There's already lots of weld on this. Might as well have more. So long, Mr. International. Last time you're ever gonna look like that for the front. You've been cut before, time to be cut again. All right, so as you can see, things have happened. The old front clip is pretty much no more. There's a lot of usable parts in here, And basically, again, we're going to make an amalgamation of all of these, all of those, and that. But I'll show you kind of what we're running into here. This is about as far back as the hood can go, and I've cut everything off of this, other than just the overskin. There's no structure, there's no nothing. It's just the overskin. That's why it's kind of flat at the top. But basically what we're running into is this. Right here, she's rubbing, and right there, she's rubbing. I could, in theory, leave it just like this, but I want this to go back as far as possible, because then we don't have to have such a snoot on this thing. We can have a small snoot. Small snoot is what we want. We're gonna half it, just like so, and then I think what we'll do, we'll half it first, just kind of roughly see how wide we'll have to go, and then I think what I'm gonna do is cut it somewhere around here, roughly, maybe somewhere flat that will be really easy to extend. All right, so this gives us a small look at what we're gonna have to do. As you can see, it's quite substantial. So that's roughly what we got going on. As you can see, it's spread apart quite wide. All right, I just wanted to bring you guys in real quick. There's not a lot that went on, but that's the point. Sometimes it's better off just to sit down, pop a squat, have a drink, think. I was gonna try to graft all that stuff on without really a structure, but I really liked how the skeleton did on the cab. It made everything come together really, really nice. I kind of want to recreate that on the hood. So I was thinking, how am I going to bend a big piece of steel, start off with basically the hood, scratch, and go from there. But then I realized we cut up a lot of these barn beams for basically the floor, and we plan on doing more of them anyway. I have all these strands, and they're basically an 1/8 inch. Well, string them. Attach them there, string them. I'm gonna do a bunch of them, right? And then we'll add pieces that we can work. It's gonna be a lot easier to mold with these. And then we can just lay that on top, make our hood. I'm talking basically, we'll make the section, we'll make the curve for the sides, make the curve for the top. And it will all meet here roughly in the middle. We'll figure out basically the general shape and the general just with just these strands, and then between the hood, original steel, and new steel, we should be able to lay it in strips. It should come together pretty slick. Okay, so just a little progress update. You guys can likely already tell what's going on here. Basically, I'm making my stringers, I'm making my frame. It's all just goober tacks right now, and I mean goober tacks. Look at that thing. Ugh, scary. But anyway, it's all just really, really quick tacks. That way I can break them easy if I need to, because I'm moving things around as we go. But basically the general premise is that's going to be our main superstructure, yada, yada, yada. And now we're building our ribs. And it's basically just going to go like this. Over to there, over to there. What is that? 4. So it'll be 5 counting the back. Basically go over. And then it'll be from here to there, because we kind of need that little bit of a double hump. And that will come down to here. So our hood will come down to here initially for the superstructure anyway. And then from there, we'll build off of it. But yeah, anyway, I got lots of ribs to basically put in, as you guys can see. That's basically what I'm going to be doing for the next little bit. You guys aren't going to miss much. I'll bring you guys back when basically the hood superstructure or the hood general shape before skin is going to be back on, finished welded, all that stuff. All right, so here's another progress update. Things coming together pretty good. This is the inside skeleton, much like what we did with the floor. This is the old skeleton, basically. Nice and strong. I still gotta add 1 or 2, basically, in here. And basically his premise, we're building the skeleton first. That way I know what my minimum dimensions are for like closeness and all that stuff. And then we're going to take the best parts that we can, graft from the original International, lay them on there, fill in the gaps, round it all up, all that stuff. Another really good thing with this whole thing right here with the skeleton is I don't have to worry that we can't weld in the bump stops or our 2 hinges that will be here. I can do those all first. That way, skin goes on and she's ready to rock and roll. Plus, I have something to really easy bend stuff over, so I'm not doing anything in the air. I'll always have a reference point to go off of. Yeah, can't go wrong with that.
Skeletor. Skeletor. Look at that.
All right, so little progress update. I got my hinge section welded in, basically there, and this is the hinge. So that's basically how it operates. Not too bad. So what I need to do is attach bars from there to my skeleton, make it really strong, and then I'm gonna add the bars that go in off to the sides and maybe a crossbar for the time being. That way the skeleton's super strong, and then we can put our stops. And then after that, then we can kind of finalize the shape and put the skin on. Little by little. A lot of welding, basically, that's going on here. Basically, I decided to make T-channel, and I got to cut off all the excess. This is kind of a placeholder. But we need this front nose cone pretty structurally sound, since we're going to be pulling off of it all the time. The rest of it, once the skin's on it, with the skeleton, it should be okay. Basically, when you tug, you need something really strong to go off of. And then, yeah, with the extra skin, there'll be a double layer. So we should be fine for strength that way. Plus, when we add our pieces to join the skin onto the hood, whole bunch of stuff. Either way, I'm not too worried about from here to there. I just need this front side really, really strong so we can pull on it and everything. Hinges are looking good. We basically have to do this throughout all of these and then strengthen where the hinge pieces join, because there's not a lot of strength there right now, but there will be. Once this front face is done, then we can move on to our bump stops, which are gonna go right about there. So far, so good. Once we get the front pieces done and the bump stops done, then we can start working on the skin. Awesome. I wanna work on the bump stops, while we can get at them really, really easy. That's exactly what we want. Either way, I'm gonna keep plugging away. I'll bring you guys back in a little bit. All right, little progress update. That's my hinge section. It's completely freed up now. We just got it basically attached at the back just to hang out. This is our stops, as you can see. Boom, bada bing. Just basically a crossbar that goes across. Keeps it all good. That will come up, and then when it'll come down, it will sit on these bump stops here. That basically makes it ready for our skin. So I'm just gonna sit back and go through some design choices that I can do. I'll put up what I kind of think, but there's two ways we can do this. Either the hood goes and the fenders stay, or the entire thing comes. Both have pros, both have drawbacks. Pros to just the hood. Fenders are stationary, really easy to do, really easy to set up. Cons, you lose a little bit of working space. This is how she goes. Now, if we want to do the entire thing, it's all fine and dandy, but when this front end hinges over, these have to be high enough that they'll pass over a bumper, everything, the front fenders. So something to think about there. Either way, got to spitball it. I'm going to figure it out. I'll bring you guys back when I got an idea. All right, so that's kind of what we're thinking here. Just basically got the skins lightly tacked up to the main frame. So what we have to do is add our sections here and here. Once this grill section's complete, we can kind of figure out, do we want the hood to do the whole thing, or do we want the fenders? But either way, I'm gonna keep grafting on pieces and seeing what I like, and then we can kind of build off of that. All right, so that's kind of what we're dealing with. And we're a little bit too wide. By a little bit, I mean a lot, likely 4 inches or so, just on that one side. Now, 2 things that I've learned just from this quick little graft on. 1, because our hinge is so high, the light is gonna be below the hinge. So if I want this guy to be incorporated in with the hood, that light is gonna have a swing back effect, much like what we had before. And as you can see, he pulls in this way, gets pretty darn close to the tire. We can keep that at bay by cutting right along here, basically. Then it'll kind of like a slope in effect and then back down. We could do that. Or B, I cut it here, the main hood, get rid of that fender for now, the main hood, and he kind of slopes in. Then we do flat steel down, and we only do a hingeable hood. That way our fenders will be locked in place and it won't really matter where they go. I'm gonna give it a little bit of thought because it's gonna drastically change the look of the truck. Because right now, relatively wise, it can still look like an International. 1950s, 1954. It's gonna be heavily modified, it's gonna be kind of out of whack, but it can still look like an International. If we do this, it will no longer look like an International. We can take little pieces, and I'm thinking maybe from the KB line, but either way, it won't look like the 50s version anymore. The more and more we work on it, the more and more it's gonna start to stray from the original truck. Again, it all depends what we really want. I just kind of want cool looking 50s pickup. That's what we're going for. We're gonna use the International as a reference, but within reason. All right, so that's roughly what I'm thinking I'm gonna go about. Again, it's not exactly how it's gonna lay. Some things aren't square. Things are just rough tacked. That's not square, that's not square, that's not even cut right. That one's a little bit too far in, yada, yada, yada. Couple things I gotta rework, and I have to rework the bottoms just because when I tilt the front, because we're gonna try to do a full front tilt again. I like the pros of it, it's pretty nice. We're gonna try to do another full front tilt on this truck, but because of that, we're gonna have to rework that bottom section. I'm thinking like a slant, and then we're gonna have to likely do at least a 1/2 inch gap with some heavy structural steel on the bottom. Either way, we'll work it out, but the main goal right now is gonna be to get at least the fenders and the front fascia square, the same on both sides, because you can already see that tire's poking. That one's not, he's a little bit too long, yada, 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 we'll work it out. But get them roughly the same, and then start doing some hot tacks where we can. And then other spots where we have to rework, we will. So like here, that needs to be reworked. I gotta basically cut him and scoot him back just a little bit. Basically make him not as curved. This one's not horrible. This one lined up half decent, but we gotta take this fender back off and cut him a little bit more, because as you can see, he's bowed out that way too much. And then obviously wheel arch work once it's all done, once it's all squared up, but we'll get to that portion when we get to it. And that's how that guy's looking right there. But yeah, it's gonna take a little bit of time, a little bit of scrutinizing. But yeah, I'll bring you guys back when the two fenders are square to the hood. All right, that's roughly squared up. We're within 1/4 inch, and I can finagle that as we go. But that's what we got going on. Headlight buckets definitely need to be realigned. We're gonna try to do most of the alignment when we redo those. But either way, we got that guy all squared up. So now what we have to do is add the back fenders. And what we ended up doing is robbing the back fenders off the bed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out where these guys need to sit. We're gonna place them on, and then we're gonna cut him to the same angle that that front fender is, and the idea is these are gonna be both mated. The wheel arch isn't gonna line up, none of that. We're just mainly focusing on the top arch. That's what we want right now. So we get that squared up, we get that the right distance, and then we can play around with the wheel arch down the road. But that's the idea. We're gonna use this end right here. The far end, it has more of a sweeping curve. It will match a little bit better for the front. So I'm gonna do that with both sides. We're gonna put those on and see how we do. There we go, little progress update. Not too shabby, not too shabby at all. That's how far the fender's gonna be. The wheel well on the front just needs to be kind of reshaped just a little bit, but I managed to keep most of the shape. It's a little bit long, but we still gotta do our final arch to finish it. But the general shape is there, all that stuff. So I'm gonna move on to the other side and do the other side now. Oh, this is what we got going on right now. I got this fender all tacked up. This one's a little bit longer on this side, but it measures out the same. So I just have to move that wheel arch just a touch this way. All said and done, but it's only off by about 1 inch. But not bad. Not bad at all. Again, we'll move that arch just about 1 inch over there. But for right now, we're just trying to get the general skin sorted. So that's both ends. So take a look at this one and take a look at this one. Overall, not too bad. There we go. So we jumped over to the superstructure, basically for the running board. As you can see, it's coming out pretty good. And yeah, that's not focusing on any of the rounded bits. Nothing like that. But yeah, it's coming together pretty darn slick. So I'm going to do the other side. Basically, that running board looks like that right now. I'm going to do the other side, get the other side at the same spot, and then we'll decide where we want to go. If we want to put a skin on that and really see what the running board looks like, or if we're going to go back to this. There we go. Got this one all done. So that skeleton's now done too, which is pretty awesome. So now, meow meow, I think what we're going to do, we're just going to throw the doors on. I kind of want to see what it looks like with the doors on. There we go. Yes, sir. That looks pretty darn slick. Take a look at her from the back. Take a look at her from pretty far away. A good gander from the side. A good gander from this side. A good gander from the back. So I was trying to figure out how to get that front end basically all squared up, but then I realized I only used half the back fenders. I still got a front. So I marked it out roughly. I'm going to use that to get my curvature for the front nose cone. Obviously some alterations and maybe some widening, some thickening, whole bunch of stuff. But general shape, that should work out pretty good. Let me cut that out. We're just going to do an overlay and I'll bring you guys back on what I'm kind of thinking. There we go. Very, very rough. It's just a vice grip holding it on. It's rough cut. It doesn't fit, nothing like that. But it does give us our general shape. That's the most complex part of the shape right there. So if I can cheese it a little bit, not too shabby at all. So what I'm going to have to do is cut down this center bit because it's not in line at all the way it should be. But once that's cut down, I can kind of bend it out, bend it in, overlap, and it should fit. A little bit of rework, all that stuff, but I got the general curve of what I needed. As you can see, didn't turn out too bad. Didn't turn too bad at all. So that's just rough. It's just tacked in. Now what we're going to do, I already split this. We're going to weld him in, tack him in, and I think I'm going to make my triangle basically all the way down. It's just a triangle with a slight curve in it, and yeah, should work out pretty darn slick. Got that guy all welded in. All good, all tacked up. So now we're gonna put that triangle in. I gotta put a small bend in the middle. So I got him all laid out here. What we're gonna do, we're gonna cut out the entire square. That way I can bend it sharp down the crease, because if I try to bend it at a point, it's gonna go all weird. Either way, bend a nice sharp crease into it, and then we can cut it to size, put it on, and that caps off the hood other than that back strap piece. There we go. Not too shabby. It's really coming together. I gotta basically play around with the arching there at the back, but not too bad. I can do that when I do that main arch, just like so. But overall, it's coming together. I'm quite pleased. So now, next thing, like I just said, I think what I'm gonna do is cut this square. That way I only have to do like a square cut, and it will tuck into the fenders, and then I can just cut it off after. I think that's going to be a lot easier than trying to finagle cut that whole thing. Got this back panel piece on right here. Very, very rough. Extremely rough. But just kind of tacked in. I was going to start working on the grill, but as you can see, it's getting kind of dark. And whatever design I go with, I'm going to have to live with. I don't want to do that sleepy. So we're going to switch gears. We'll do that when we're fresh, not after work. None of that on a nice weekend. There we go, not bad. I still got to do a cut and butt on that, but we're just going to hold off on it right now. But got that little piece in. And got that little piece in. There's still little slivers on the sides of the fenders that I have to do. As you can see, a little hole there and the other side. But what we're going to do now, I think, is try to straighten up this grill section. Mainly, we got to figure out what the distance between the two headlights we want and make that section rigid, because we still got an absolute ton of floppy on both sides. That will all go away once we solidify that. And then once we solidify that, then we can start working on the grill section. Somehow I think it would be cool to incorporate the snorkels again, but I really don't know what I would do with them. I don't want to put them both in the center because that would look like a nose, and that's not exactly what I want. I like the look of the grill. I kind of want to continue that. But side note, we have such a big radiator, I don't want to basically make it so then we can't use any of that cooling. What I'm kind of thinking, right? For right now, we won't be able to do it. Grill, all that stuff. We're just going to build it as we go. But when I come down here, right, and I build my bash guard and my lower mounts for the radiator, because right now, again, we're only on the side mounts for the radiator right now, but there's 2 isolators that have to go in right there and there, and it's going to sit on a bash plate. When I build that bash plate, once the bumpers are in, I can build like a scoop setup that will scoop air from the bottom. Might have a scoop about that big. It'll scoop air from the bottom and suck it up into the radiator. And then on the inside of this, I can complete the rest of the scoop. So basically, all that air is going to be forced through the radiator while you're driving. That way we don't have to worry about having the grill, like grill holes up in the nose cone or anything like that to ruin the overall look. But yeah, anyway, that's just a thought. It's a little bit down the road because bumpers are going to be after the bed, but so far so good. All right, so that's what we got going on right now. I got it all seam welded in because I'm going to be reefing on it just a little bit. Got to add some relief cuts because we got to go with this curve right here and here. So I'm going to play around. I'm going to try to get it, tack it up. I'll bring you guys back when it's kind of the right shape. Looks rough. It's not ground down, nothing like that. Still got to do some little bit of hammer work, but the general shape is all there. Show you on this side. Yeah, coming together quite nicely. So what I got to do now is that bottom chin, and that's also where I'm going to tie in the 2 lights. So that's what I got to work on. I'm just going to make it out of sheet steel first, tie them all together, and then we can see what we need to finagle to put it all together on that end. There we go. That's cleaning that up quite nicely, as you guys can see. So what we got to do now, I have to do a cut and butt on all of this. It's quite a lot of work. But I'm going to do a cut and butt on all of that, align everything with the grill. But I kind of want to get this guy solidified, and then we can move on to the rest of it. But once he's solidified and he's all set in stone and everything, it kind of wraps the whole truck back up. But anyway, this is just a foundation because we still got to continue the grill section over, but I want to get it all basically structurally sound before I start adding holes. So, not too shabby. I decided I don't need to do the fenders just yet. He's all finished where it needs to be and then just rough ground. But now we can see clearly where we have to cut. So, I'm going to play the game now. I got to basically cut these guys out and go from there. So, lots of struggling. Little view from the side here. A little view from the front. And a little view from this side. And that's the side. All right, there we go. Nice little update. So I got the grill bars all cut out. I just got to add the 3-dimensional shape to it. I'm just going to basically half those guys and put them back in their slots where we got them. And that should work. And then I got to take these X pieces and bend those in slightly. But either way, it's all coming together. There we go. That's not too bad. I got the indentations all put in, and I got the sides all put in. So now we got the 3-dimensional shape. But yeah, overall, I'm quite happy with it. I think it turned out quite slick, especially from afar and all that stuff. And we still, got to do some work on the inside of these gaps and all that stuff and really mate the front end. But we're going to change gears, and we're going to skin this running board, same as the other one. I'm thinking for right now, because I'm not exactly settled on what I want to do with it yet, we're just going to lay a flat skin, and maybe then the ideas are going to start to flow. All right, let's take a gander peek. That's basically what we got going on. Just a very basic skin for now. Still got that gap there. I got to think on how we're going to do the end piece, the curl, and I already got a good idea for that front. But either way, I think we should likely see what this truck looks like in this state right now outside. So in order to do that, let's wire it back up and see how she starts. All right, talk about sketchy, but we're going to try to boost it or get it running and working just off the boost pack. So I got him ram jammed in there. Everything's very precariously, zip tied and alligator clipped and all that stuff. Got my safeties on. It's really a pain because I got to go in the wheel well to engage the injection pump. So we're going to try to just give it a snort of ether, make sure it's not in gear, see if it lights off. That's basically the main plan. See, in order to start it, I got to go in here. Oh, where is he? There he is. He's all the way over there, so we got to boost him from the passenger seat and go from there. Either way, should work. Why wouldn't it work? Anyway, let me set you guys up. Let's start her up. Let's see what it looks like in the sunlight. All right. Well, let's see if it turns over with this setup. Good. All right, well, she's set up sketchy. Got the battery there, got the boost pack there, wheel well all tied up. Let's back this bird out. That's the bird, not too shabby. I like it, not too bad. Let's go have some fun. Would you look at that? I seem to have found the only hole in this entire thing. Now, this is gonna be fun trying to get out of here without destroying everything. And my throttle setup is a little iffy. Anyway, let's see what we can do. right, so we know she likes to dig. Well, now I know what I'm doing for the rest of the day. Oh, geez. All right, gonna go pull this guy out. I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I'm gonna demonstrate to you how to get out with one of these bad boys. Really, really simple. So, get something big that's gonna be able to take its weight, because you know, ground's super soft. Put the high lift on, we'll raise her up. Yeah, just look at her. We buggered her right down to the axle. So I got to fill all this stuff back in, and then we'll play around some more. There, like it never even happened. I don't think you guys understand just how sketchy this thing is to get going here. Oh, that Stardall's real happy. Where is it? Is it on? I can't tell if it's on. But yeah, you got to hit the override on the Stardall. He's overrid. That's going. We'll check our connections real quick. Not too shabby. And then what you got to do, there we go. And then what you got to do is come in here, grab your screwdriver, right? Make sure it's not in gear. That's the biggest one. And then just reach your body up in here. Make sure it's in neutral again. There we go. And Bob's your uncle. There we go. Not too shabby. 1950's cab on the 90s zip ties and bias plies, cross-country Ford frame. 7.3 IDI powered, ZF5 transmission, what more could you want? We've proved that it doesn't really like wet ground that much, but that could just be driver's error. So, in this video, we went from basically just the skeleton with the skeleton cab, and we put all the 50s panels basically on. Some of them aren't complete, but basically 90% of the truck is there now. Look at that bias ply, just completely caked. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And special thanks to Ricky Jessam and Ian Litton for being the first Hi-Ho Stable Garage members on YouTube. You guys are helping add drops in the bucket to doing this stuff full time and getting more content out for you guys and having more builds like these. So thanks a ton. It really helps out. If anyone else is interested in being a member, I'll put it up right here where you guys can join up, but it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one really, really soon. All right.